we're here in the recording studio in the wake of Games for Windows podcast, and all the microphones are dripping with slobber, and I don't know what else.
I mean, I hope it's slobber.
My headphones aren't even working properly, so I'm sitting here all cool, like with my earphones around my neck, which, you know, if I were... are there animals that have
earphones around their neck? No.
No, I'm thinking like snakes.
Not in the wild.
They pick up the vibrations or something in their throat.
Oh, yeah.
That's me. I'm the snake of this podcast.
Okay.
What?
And we're talking about Sam and Max, neither of which are snakes, actually. It's a dog and a rabbit.
Yeah, it is.
So we'll just kind of round robin around here and talk about
reel that metaphor in.
Who's here.
Jen Frank here. How's it going?
Jen, what are you?
About 5'4".
Jen, what are you in terms of one-up employment?
Oh. I am the community manager of the One-Up Network.
I'm Ryan Scott. I'm the reviews editor for Games for Windows, the official magazine.
Yeah, sorry about dissing your magazine for a minute there. It's just, you know,
that's all right.
Podcast manners.
We dissed you guys like 10 times as bad.
What?
Dude, that's what I heard.
Yeah, Jeff says bad words and I don't, so that's the problem. He has that saltiness over me.
I'm Chris Kohler of Wired.internet. And,
don't you mean one-up freelancer?
Occasionally.
Yeah, stop plugging
and
Wired,
also,
dude.
We're not like competing. That's
sure
why I even get to do this.
We've got blogs. You've got blogs.
Yeah.
It's a head-to-head blog
Everybody
rivalry.
has blogs.
You know how I feel.
Yeah, but ours are awesome.
All right, let me start again. I'm Chris Kohler. I'm the rabid ground squirrel of this podcast.
All right. That doesn't even work. Ray, why don't we go to you? I'm sure you can come up with something better.
I'm Ray Barnholt, Service Unit 03 at My Cheats, and one up.
Semper Fi.
Who are you?
I'm the jackass in charge of this jackass parade. The Jackass Circus. I'm the ringmaster of the Jackass Circus.
Yes.
Jeremy Parrish. Hi, everyone.
Good to meet you, Jeremy Parrish.
So, Sam and Max.
Yeah.
Those
Sam
are some
and Max?
games.
No,
yeah.
They were video games.
It was a video game.
Yeah.
No.
Well, and then there's a new one.
Now it's
which is why we're talking about Sam and Max now. Because episode 1 of the Sam and Max season 1, which is actually the second game, it just came out last week.
Yes.
Via Game Tap, which I'm not allowed to play because I did some work for them.
Signed a bunch of contracts.
Can I?
It's from Telltale.
Go ahead.
Games.
I just found out about this stuff. I was like, Ray, how do I get a hold of Sam and Max? And he was like, Game Tap, and I went
sold
and
Uncle Turner.
I looked and I was like, this is amazing, because I was looking at the list of games and the first thing I saw was 3D Ultra Pinball, because the number 3 is not a word, so it's at the beginning of the alphabet.
Right.
And I was so excited.
So Sam and Max. We're talking about the old Sam and Max this week because that's what retro. Last week it's retro 13 years ago.
Thank God.
Yeah.
'Cause I haven't played the.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat there. Right. So the original Sam & Max was one of LucasArts' Scum games back when LucasArts created games that weren't Star Wars. Scum, of course, was not actually a series per se. It was just kind of an unofficial collective of games made with the same technology. The scenario creation utility for Maniac Mansion, is that right?
Script creation utility?
Script creation. I knew it was
Oh, my.
That's why we have Ryan here, because he's going to make me look really stupid.
Okay. Still did better than me.
Sorry.
But no, the Scum games were arguably the pinnacle of the adventure game genre, although Sierra fans, I think we have some here, might beg to differ.
Yeah, you can be a fan of both.
Sure, of course.
There's room for everyone.
No, this is video gaming on the internet. So there has to be one clear victor, and people have to scream and curse at each other. Well, all caps and curse at each other. That's how it is.
For me, the Scum games were getting a lot on its downturn. And
there was that. Yeah, Sierra did have that decline from like the mid 80s to the mid 90s.
Yeah.
Whereas LucasArts, their games, Maniac Mansion was awesome, but but the games did get consistently better. Like Loom, not so great. Sam & Max, really good.
Grim Fandango.
That wasn't Scum though.
You didn't like Loom?
Well,
Full Throttle.
Loom, I don't know. Well, it never
different.
It never spoke to me.
Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, so
what was the last Scum game? Was it?
I think the last game to use that engine was Curse of Monkey Island.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Oh, right.
Wow.
Right.
Which was a heavily modified version of...
Right.
Yeah.
And that was the last one before Grim Fandango, which used Grime, which is the Grim engine.
Okay. The Scum engine was heavily modified throughout its entire life. They just kept adding new tweaks and features and refining it, smoothing
Right.
over the interface,
Yeah.
adding
Right.
additional graphical capabilities, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. So was it really an engine
No,
other than just layered over sort of?
who cares?
It basically
It's all
allowed
technical,
people
and it doesn't matter because basically the point is that it
awesome.
was a lot of really fun games.
Yeah.
like Sam and Max.
Like Sam and Max.
Yeah.
Sam and Max actually was interesting because I think it was based on a property that wasn't specifically Lucas's. Is that
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Steve Purcell
Steve
worked
Purcell.
for Lucas, and he created Sam and Max as a cartoon
Right.
long before Lucas
As a
came
comic
along.
book.
Right.
Right, cartoon. Yeah, comic book.
Yeah.
Right. Cartoon in the French sense.
It was an indie
Oh
comic
my
that he had put together. And then he joined LucasArts, and when he got to LucasArts, he was like, constantly pushing, let's do a game with my character.
Well, there were
Sam
lots of
Max.
little cameos in the game.
Yes,
weren't there,
in the
prior
Monkey
to
Island
Sam and
games,
Max?
they showed up.
Yeah.
Oh right.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
And he worked on those.
So that was unique in that Lucas didn't actually own the characters, which
Right.
is why we have Sam and Max Episode 1 from Telltale Games.
Yeah.
The end.
What?
Which Steve
Oh,
Purcell
right.
is also
Orange
working
and
It was really elapsed.
Oh.
Very elapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know
so,
what's really interesting is, well, no, it's not interesting. It's just but Donkey Kong. Okay, I kind of liked it. Donkey Kong in an academic
Oh,
sense.
you can't
cool.
talk about Donkey Kong right now.
I'm
because
not.
We haven't actually posted that episode of the video Retronauts yet.
Okay, so
Like, it
other
doesn't
podcasts
exist.
we've done
It's under NDA.
in general have been about games that I think are cool, but Sam and Max is the one game so far that we've been talking about on this that I love. Sam and Max is
Yeah.
awesome. I
Yeah.
love the shit out of this game.
Well, that's going to make for an interesting podcast because I really like the graphics and the animation in Sam and Max. I love the writing, and I don't think it's all that fun. Because
Do you just not like adventure games?
it's an
Wait.
adventure game, and as much as I like the idea of adventure games, they ultimately boil down to this pointless BS where you're just like clicking on stuff and hoping that you can make combinations
Yes.
and connections.
I was thinking today.
And that's I was playing Sam and Max this weekend, like going through the game and playing it. I remember, I kind of had this epiphany, this remembrance of what the genre was like and why it's dead now.
Right.
Why no one plays it anymore.
The
because
classic throw
there's
baby
just-
in water.
Yeah, there's just too much of like, well, here's two
Right.
things, and I'll just like.
There's this peculiar dream logic in adventure games where the solution that you're acting out only makes sense in an adventure game. And I was thinking
It
about
makes
that.
sense retroactively. It's like you
Yeah.
do it and you say, oh, I kind of see how that happened, but it wasn't really intuitive just in
Right.
terms of logic or gameplay.
And to a point, I think all adventure games, to some extent, suffer from that. But I think Sam and Max suffers from it more so because the sense of humor in the game is so great. As a result, since the solution will be...
Well, I think the sense of humor is subversive, but not really wacky. Like, it's kind of sardonic. And so when you have really wacky solutions, it doesn't necessarily fit the game.
I never really had that issue with Sam and Max, though. I mean, I guess I just generally don't really have those issues with adventure games.
I don't know,
where
there were
sometimes the puzzle doesn't
places-
make sense. I don't know. Sam and Max, the only times when I got stuck when I went back and recently replayed it were when an item that I had to pick up looked so much like a part of the background that I didn't even bother
Yeah,
to
there was
investigate.
a time without any money because I didn't think, oh, this rat hole in the background, I should
Yep.
use the rat hole. Of
Yeah.
course.
That's exactly...
That's what I
yeah.
would do for money.
Well, I mean, you don't. All you have to do is just, click the use
Well, the
icon
thing is,
on it.
sometimes there are things that you can look at
Yeah.
that you can't use. And there are things you can use that you can't actually do a look at.
Oh,
like the
okay.
gigantic ball of twine in the background of the Twine Museum. I don't think you can actually look at that. But you actually have to stick something into it.
Yes. Yeah.
And things like that, there's like this little bit of inconsistency. in the
So you
user
just start
base.
sweeping each cursor over it
Yeah,
until you get a reaction.
that's what happens with every adventure game. At some point, you get to the area where you're like, all right, I'm completely stuck, so I'm going to spend an hour making every possible click combination I can think
Yeah.
of.
A lot of adventure
yeah,
games
pretty
these
much.
days, one icon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the consequence.
Well,
Yeah,
Sam and
and
Max.
I worry that makes things too simple. Like things, Myst, I think, became so popular and kind of killed everything else because it was so simple. Like all you could do was click, and that was it. And that overly simplified things a lot.
Right.
Right.
it's just clicking
Yeah.
on things.
There has to be a happy medium where there's like
It's very easy.
intuitive, good puzzle gaming that's still challenging but not counterintuitive.
I'm
But
okay
I-
with the one-click inventory mashup. Do they have that where there's an inventory and a single click? Because I'm
There's
into
an inventory,
that.
yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
appropriately complicated when you
I don't know. Sam and Max, I mean, you haven't played it yet, but it was pretty, just zip straight through it really easy.
Really?
You never really had to think about any puzzle solutions. I like having to think about puzzle solutions because
Me
it means
too.
that, I'm not just going to
there's
blast
some
really game that I
there's
paid
some really good
all this money
puzzles in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you go to the weird vortex and you've got the room of magnets, and it becomes like this additive light puzzle.
Yeah.
To match up to the doors.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like that one clicked right away. It made sense, but I still had to think about it a little bit.
Right.
So that kind of puzzle is good. It's just like the stupid puzzles where you kind of have to just hope for the best.
It's a really delicate balance. Good a job as any game at that time did of balancing it between, you know, puzzles that you actually have to think about and not just making you get completely stuck on something. I think you're just bad at adventure games.
That's a possible.
I mean, because you were like, oh my god, Touch Detective is like the most ridiculous, inscrutable thing ever, and I'm just like,
no, Touch Detective is just crappy.
Well,
You know what Sam & Max
If you're
needs?
crafty,
A lot
it's
more
mediocre.
expansive castles. That's what that needs.
I will agree with Jeremy, though, that Sam & Max does have that quality of adventure games. I think more so.
Well, I don't know if it's more so. I think it's actually less than a lot of games I've played.
Like what?
But I think feels more, maybe a little more offensive in Sam & Max because the rest of the game is so good.
okay. So this was one of the first games that had, well, there was a CD version and all the characters talked all the way through it.
That's the one I bought.
Which was big. And in an age where people were still coming to grips with how to implement dialogue into games, Sam & Max had impeccable. Am I right?
You're gotta be right.
So who did the voice acting for Sam & Max? Do you know, Ryan? Was it?
I know off the top of my head that Bill Farmer did the voice of Sam, and that's the guy that does the voice of like Goofy for Disney.
Nice.
Oh, okay, so they brought in the pros basically.
Oh yeah.
Right, and there's a similar actor for Max. His name is Nick Stahl or Nick
That sounds
Nick
right.
something.
Huh.
But he's another career voice actor.
So that was another thing it got right was hire professionals up front, not necessarily Eugene Levy, like professionals who aren't Eugene Levy,
Hey,
and get them.
don't be bashing on Eugene Levy now for no
Yeah.
reason.
He's a
Have you played
workhorse.
Eugene Levy?
Seriously, that man is the hardest working person in something.
Yeah, but
That's true.
That hard work also puts him in a lot of really terrible things.
That's
And a lot of
also
really great
true.
things.
And
Well,
true.
sure.
Spaghetti at the wall.
Exactly.
Mighty
I was going to say.
Good
It's
work.
recursive.
Yep.
You're so right about the dialogue. I mean, I know I was really excited to buy King's Quest 6 again, and you don't have to keep this in the podcast, I'm just saying. I was really excited to buy King's Quest 6 again because I already owned it on floppy, and I wanted to own it with voice, and it said, truly a sign that the era of CD gaming is upon us on the box. And
Did you believe the hype?
yeah, I did.
Of course.
Yes, I did.
Of course you did.
Yes, I did.
Didn't you
Exactly.
pay any
That's the
attention to
same
the words
year,
of Vic
I
Ireland?
believe, as
Oh, yeah?
Sam & Max. I mean, what?
Nothing.
What did you say?
Nothing.
What did you say to me?
Nothing. let's stay on topic.
Sorry. I just wanted to throw that in because I think what you're saying is so important, especially
But
especially
how did
since,
How
in
did
a way,
King's Quest 6 actually stack up to Sam & Max? That's, I think, what you need to explain here.
great dialogue. I think what I'm really, the kernel of thought that I'm getting at is that great computer game dialogue actually is what made CD gaming so you can almost, trace back the rise of gaming on CD-ROM.
But you don't think that
to great dialogue.
pre-rendered trees of Myst is what made CD gaming great?
God,
Screw you,
no.
Jeremy. Screw you.
Come on, that was like
Myst
the world's
broke
most
my heart.
amazing hypercard stack, guys.
I know, and I
Can't argue
was
with
so
that.
angry when I got to the end of Myst. It was like, the answer was here all along. I was so mad.
Yeah, after I beat Myst, I went back just to see how fast I could beat the game, knowing what all the solutions were. It took me about 5 minutes. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I know, it's really
Real
infuriating.
substance to that game.
Exactly. That's so infuriating.
But I think that kind of does get back to the problem of a lot of adventure games, which is that if you know what to do, then there's not really much substance to the games. I mean, even Sam & Max is great. It has great dialogue and everything, but
There's
when
only-
you know what you're doing, you can just kind of click through.
So there's no reason to replay it, really.
Yeah, really. That unless they have like branching storylines. I think the Indiana Jones games
Indiana
were
Jones.
really really cool because
Fate of Atlantis.
they gave you.
can dress up, do charitable acts. But of course, Comic Relief is a charity that's working all the time for disenfranchised all over the world.
And you can go to the website all year round, which is comicrelief.com.
I think there's also rednoseday.com, which is if you particularly want to donate for this year's appeal. Have you always been a strong champion of comic relief, Carl?
Not really.
Why was I expecting that answer?
Well, but I mean, we're doing a bit of charity now. We're donating our time. It's not much. It's not costing us anything.
But I do loads of stuff without going on about it. I don't think you should shout about the bits you do for charity, because then who are you doing it for?
Oh, exactly. I mean, well, this is my thing, isn't it? That there's a lot of people that only do it if it's in the public eye. It's to do it really to be a busybody or to show off or to feel good about themselves. And I suppose that's good and bad. I mean, if it gets you involved, if it does some good. My gift to the world has been you, Carl, to be quite honest. I feel that you're the world now.
I'm sure there's people in
Yeah.
Doing a Wills charity, isn't it?
Is it?
Sort of.
I mean,
No,
if you make a donation to a charity within the will, I suppose that's quite charitable. But just giving money to your relatives isn't, is it?
Of course it is.
Well,
They shouldn't have it.
They're
They
getting something for nothing, but it's... I don't know. It's giving something away that you have no use for.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I mean,
but forget that. It's someone is getting something when
Yeah.
they've done nothing for it, really.
Well, it is. I suppose it is charity, but charity is usually infused with some sort of altruism. It's usually to do with giving a piece of something that is kindly because you could do with it. I mean, not strictly. I think you can give away something you don't need, but it's hardly donating a kidney, is it, or some of your wages? It's like it's not charity on your part because you're literally not around anymore. So it's no longer you giving it. It's just some
Yeah, but
money
I could
there
either
was.
give it them or not give it them. Once I'm dead and I've turned Suzanne's mum getting a table.
Is that what
you
you're
know-
leaving her?
Well, I called up my dad first.
Why are you
and said,
doing a will for the show?
Because of this travel thing that I'm
Right, yeah.
doing, and it can get dangerous, you know.
But why haven't you done a will up to now?
Because you sort of, I don't know, I felt sort of young and free. Whereas now I'm...
That's never two words I've associated with Carl.
No.
He's always seemed like a man who's in his late 50s.
Yeah,
and
exactly,
I've certainly
yeah.
never the idea that you're free.
It's more-
Even if we're just talking about the head alone, it's the head of a late 50-year-old.
Free of hair.
Yeah, totally free of fucking hair.
I'm sort of getting on first name terms with my doctor.
Oh, really?
Chatting more. Oh, what is it this time?
How's your middle finger?
You
Not
know.
too bad, Carl.
All that sort of thing. So it's just made me think.
Have you had that done for the will, by the way, for insurance
I think
and
you
stuff?
need to, don't you, for a will?
I think you do.
There's nothing on the
prostate
paper.
exam.
No.
No, listen, for insurance purposes, I think you need to have a testicular exam for testicular cancer. You're just leaving the high risk. You're entering the high risk for prostate
And you
cancer.
can have both at the same time.
You could have both
the
at the same
examination
time,
at the same time.
if he's a very dexterous doctor.
I wouldn't want that.
Why? Too much like...
It's just too,
Too
much
playful.
going on. It's like someone juggling you.
yeah, it's like being examined by Squiddly Diddly.
And so you said you called up your dad.
Called him up. I said, "Is there anything you want if I die?"
Right. And presumably, you know, Suzanne, she's getting the lion's share.
She is. But then the fella who was on the end of the phone talking us through it all was going, "Oh, you should get married." I was going, "Oh, shut up." He's saying, "Well, it make things a lot easier when it comes to this." And it's like, well, that isn't a reason to get married, is it?
Well,
So she can have all my stuff. I said, "I've wrote on the bit of paper that she can have it. I'm not bothered. I'll be
What
dead."
did you wrote? What did you wrote?
You know, all that whatever we've got, she can have.
Yeah, great. That's fine. That's as good as a
Yeah.
marriage then, isn't
But
it?
it's something about tax. If you're not married, you have to hand over more.
Well, she'll get... yeah, I suppose if it's money, she'll pay tax on it.
And then it's like ridiculous tax rate.
yeah.
But she's going, that's why we should get married. I'm going to be paying tax. I'm going, hang on a minute. She's already like thinking about money loss instead of me disappearing.
Yeah.
She's going, yeah, we should. And I'm saying, look, you'll be getting a load of money. I said, if I die on this programme anyway, I'm insured. You'll
Yeah.
be getting about £1 million for that.
Yeah.
I said, so that's something you haven't got now.
Yeah.
Got nowhere near that now. I said, so even if you have to pay tax on that,
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be right to get married just in case I get killed.
Well, you are married, aren't you?
Well, then
as
you
good
may as well
as.
get the paperwork.
No, because then everyone wants a party.
You
Everyone's
don't have to have a party, you can go straight down the registry office.
Honestly, people start going, oh, you should do this. I know it's not a proper wedding unless you do that.
Have your two sets of parents met?
No.
That'd be good, would it?
Well, I suppose it's a reason to, isn't it? At least if you're getting married, there's a reason for them to meet. At the moment, there's no reason for them to meet.
No.
They'd get on each other's nerves. My dad wouldn't get on with a mum.
Why?
Just wouldn't. She doesn't like me, so she won't like me dad. Because he's just an exaggeration. So think it doesn't need to happen.
But you could just nip down the registry office, get it done and dusted, and you just phone up your folks and say, it's already happened, it's too late.
I said, listen, if we had to do it, I said, if it was like we've got to do it for some reason, I said, I'd do that. We can have it done by 2, you can be back in work for 3. Because at the end of the day, there's no, we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
We're not going to suddenly turn into some sort of Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan film just because we've got married.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same, exactly the same.
Yeah.
Except she'd want a joint bank account or something. That's the only other thing that would probably change, and I don't like the idea of that.
Why?
Just, I like to know what's going on. There's enough people sticking their hand in my account, charity-wise and all that, without an extra hand going in.
Who happens to be the love of your life.
I'm not moaning about it, I'm just saying it works the way it is. You hear about people getting married, and it doesn't last. Adds extra pressure.
What pressure is it going to add? It's not going to add any pressure.
I suppose that you resent be getting married is because she gets your money after your death tax-free.
What if you gave her a series of challenges so that she sort
I
of earned
think
the right to have that money?
It just keeps her on her toes. Because whilst we're not married, it's easy to go, I'm sick of this. So it keeps it
keeps
sort
her
of,
on her toes.
But it keeps us both sort of
Because
doing
you're
stuff.
such a find, she's got to work hard to keep you, hasn't she?
You never do anything in order to sort of maintain this relationship, as far as I can tell. I'm not saying you're a bad guy, but in terms of romantic Meg Ryan type stuff, you never do anything.
Me and Jane were out with them and Suzanne the other night, right, at dinner, and honestly, he is so grumpy. He was saying about for Christmas, right? He said, you've had a flaw. You've had a flaw. Now, what did that mean?
We had a new floor put in.
But how is that her floor?
Because she wanted it.
But you walk on it too.
I paid for it. I don't understand what you mean.
But don't you understand that, like, or clothes or perfumes, sort of things that are kind of indulgent for a lady, that's a gift, not a new floor.
That is like something you give to some little African fella on Comic Relief. In fact, I think I saw it once. He didn't have a floor.
Exactly.
They built him a floor. I remember watching it with you, and they gave him a new pair of shoes and the floor. He went, hold on, floor or shoes, not both. Oh, when that tsunami hit, and it was like a month after Christmas, they showed that Britain had given £2 billion, right? He was going, that's enough. He said, before, they were living in mud huts. Now there's an Arndale Centre. So you think charity is all right as long as people don't get above their station with charity?
I think it should be there as a little booster. Something's happened that they didn't expect. They're all a bit in shock. I don't think they'll to do, these countries that are struggling, they never give anything back.
Right.
They've always got their hand out.
Right.
And it's been like that since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember being a kid, people knocking on the door, my mum going, don't look at the door, there's someone there. And we'd just pretend they weren't
Charity
there.
starts at home, not at your home.
No, but because it's all the time. I mean, my mum didn't like answering the door anyway, even if it was the pools man, she'd sort of say, don't move, and he might not see that we're here.
So you just froze where a man was at the door.
Well, because the front room was near the door, so people could see in.
Right.
So you just sort of stayed there and pretend that either you can't hear him.
Some sort of predator, like they can't see if you don't move.
Well, even if he was peering in through the window and he could see you in there not moving.
So he looked through and there was 3 people just frozen, right, like statues, right, just their eyes looking at him, and him confused.
Well, they're clearly dead. I'll move on. There's obviously been a gas leak.
And did you say sitting or stand up, or did
you just sat on the where you were and you just stayed still?
But did he ever look in and see?
I don't know, because you didn't turn around, did you?
So you would pretend you couldn't hear the door?
It's the easiest. Honestly, the amount of times people would come round, it's either... It seemed to be the 80s had a lot of it, because it was all the Avon thing, wasn't it? It was perfume, Tupperware.
What?
Tupperware. Yeah, the plastic boxes.
It's dishes for fat people. Here we go. Oh, these are big. Of course they are. They're for fat fuckers like you to eat out of.
There was the pools man.
Right.
Just a lot of charity stuff. just a lot. It seemed to be the time, the 80s, that they suddenly found out they can sort of scav money off people.
Yeah.
and
Oh,
give
there
it
was a
to
lot of scavving.
So that's why we used to ignore the
I
door.
just love this image of you.
Yeah, so
You're in
silent.
the lounge.
Yeah.
You're having a little boogie. It's Christmas. Someone's
Yeah.
tapping on the glass. Freeze. They just go, well, we'll move on.
Yeah.
Nothing here for us.
Hammer time. Silence. There's a. I can see you in there. You might as well come open the door. Carl, why are you staying so still? Are you trying to avoid me?
It's working.
Carl, your eyes are moving. Can you come to the door, please?
I suppose in the end you've got to move on.
Carl, no, I'm going to stay here. I'm just going to stay here until you have to move. Carl. This is the most pointless podcast we've ever done. Me shouting your name and you pretending not to be here. Okay, and I'll move on then. Right.
It works.
Yeah.
Works
okay.
perfectly.
Because
Brilliant.
once they've got you, that's the whole thing with charity. Once they've stopped you in the street, if you've stopped, that's it.
Keeps on going.
You're handing something over.
Yeah.
I mean, the good thing now is you've got an iPod, so you can just either pretend you're on the phone or listen to music.
Or just stay very still. Just freeze. When someone says, can I trouble you for... Oh, he's totally frozen.
That would be amazing, because they're normally in one spot, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's just
So
they're
as soon
carrying
as
on
they
selling,
stop
and,
you,
and
so
you've
that
got
you
to
just
stay
freeze
there
it,
for the
you-
rest of it outside Waitrose
Yeah.
for 7 hours.
Yeah, it goes dark. Well, I've finished my shift. I'm off, and then you just see your eyes just see them walk away like that, and they all meet in their little tunics, and then you start walk. They look back, and you freeze, and then they walk on, and then you can go home 7 hours late.
If you would like to donate to Comic Relief, why not visit rednoseday.com. Ever since I was young, I've always liked going in charity shops, particularly because, you know, you find sort of interesting old records in there. Never sort of gone in there to buy clothes and stuff, but, you know, books, whatever. And I was in a charity for years, and I noticed out through the window there was like a paparazzi guy, and he was taking pictures of me through the window. That was a bit weird. And obviously the old ladies in there didn't have any idea who I was, so they just thought that was a bit strange. And then it was in one of the magazines, like the kind of celebrity magazines. It was, oh, here's Steve Merchant. You know, despite all the money he must have made from his various projects, he's still going in charity shops. And you just think, but sorry, how is that a bad thing? I'm giving my money to a charity. Isn't that a noble cause? I mean, obviously that's not the reason I'm doing it. I'm doing it
To save 50p.
to save 50p, of course. But
They don't know
they
that.
don't know that.
No.
They
You might
don't
be
know
going
me.
there and going, keep the change, love. You never have said that.
Never said that.
Never said that in your life.
No, occasionally I'll shoplift. I'm no mug. 70p? Don't you think that seems frustrating, though, that...
Yeah, but what do you expect? What are they going to do? They're not going to say Steve Merchant, Heart of Gold, are they?
I just thought all these things would slowly accumulate towards the OBE.
Yeah, I know. I think you've got to do a bit more than get Roger Whittaker's greatest hits for 10p.
My mum's always in them, and my dad sort of got into going into them now because, you know, the weather's not good or whatever, and he thinks rather than standing outside, he went in one, and he was after a jacket, just like a sort of a, you know, casual but quite smart.
Yeah.
He's quite a big bloke, so it's difficult to find them, right? So he's in there, sees the jacket, goes, oh look, here's that sort of jacket that I'm after. Picks it up, tries it on. Right, it fits. It's good, this, isn't it? She's going, yeah. While she's looking at, you know, a toad that you put money in or whatever.
Yeah.
So he gets to the counter, and it's got a price tag on it, £8, right? So he said, "I'll give you £6." He had £6 in his pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you £6 for that. She went, no, it's £8. Now that's wrong, isn't it? That's a good price, and it's £6. They've got it for nothing.
Yeah.
And she wouldn't have any of it. He said, surely something's better than nothing. If you don't give me this for £6, it's going back on the hanger.
Yeah, but they might later sell it for £8.
But they might not, and it's been given to them for free.
Yeah,
So
but
what does it matter?
But the old
Who's
lady's
come
not...
up with the price of £8? Who is this?
Yeah.
But
They don't
she's
know
not
how much it's
haggling.
worth.
She's not there to haggle. Someone's priced it up, and she's just a volunteer who's
Maybe she thought of it that she was losing the charity £2 as opposed to gaining it £6.
But they haven't gained anything because he put it back on, and how many people want it? How many people are looking out for that jacket?
It might have been the principle. She might have thought, oh, you can't haggle when it's for charity.
It was a fair price. I give a lot of stuff to charity. A lot. Most of the time, just because it's nearer than the wheelie bin is. It's just a way of getting rid of garbage most of the time with me. Stick it all in a bin bag, good stuff on the top, the stuff that you're embarrassed about, stick it in the bottom of the bag.
What are you embarrassed about?
Just old shoes, trainers.
Some of the books you've written.
Socks, underpants.
Underpants? You do not give underpants to charity.
Washed.
But who's gonna wash? I know, as opposed to just like...
I don't know why you've got a problem with underpants, but shoes. You see, I'd
Who's
never buy
buying
shoes.
underpants from a charity shop, though? I mean, I don't care how low you are on the socioeconomic level.
I know.
You can get about 14 pairs for £1 in some places.
I know. I don't know who's buying underpants. I don't know who's buying your underpants. I definitely don't know.
I mean, if they were signed...
Yeah,
that is something I like doing, though. When I've given to charity, I like going past a shop and seeing if it made it in the window.
Any success?
Yeah, recently, the one not far from here had me egg cups in the window. So it's like, oh, look, there's
You've got a new set of egg cups, so you've got rid of your old ones?
Yeah.
I don't think we've got any egg cups.
Haven't you?
No,
Why
I don't
not?
think so. I don't...
You don't have boiled eggs?
I can't imagine you... It would take... You'd be too impatient to boil an egg, Rick.
Well, yeah, I just don't... It's just those things you think of never buying, like, egg cups, a whisk.
No, but you do eventually.
I suppose you got to, haven't you? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's things that were just always there when you grow up, isn't it? That you have to go and you think of, but not second hand though.
But they made the window space. That's how good it was. It had hardly been used, that egg cup, because it was a doubler, and I think they were quite small for the egg size that I get. I think they were made more for the small egg, and I have the large egg.
Right.
So it was never really
just
used.
like your underpants.
But
Are you ever been a charity shopper, Rick?
Yeah. What I used to do a lot of was records and tapes and things like that. But it ended up sort of being ironic. It really ended up like getting, something like Shane Rich's greatest hits.
Yeah.
And things like that.
a bit of a dilemma that my Auntie Nora had. She likes charity shops as well. She's got a neighbour. Went out to Graceland's, big Elvis fan. They came back. She said, "How was Graceland?" They said, "Oh, it was brilliant. Best holiday we've ever had. Probably go back again. We've got a gift for you." Right? They get out this clock, like the Swiss sort of looks like a little
clock.
house, like a cuckoo clock. But on the hour, little Elvis comes out the top and goes, Right? So she went, "Oh, cheers." She's not really into Elvis. She's more into Jim Reeves and Glenn Campbell and stuff. Yeah. But what can you say? She said, "Oh, thanks for that." She put it in, took it in the house.
Maybe they could get attachments. Maybe you get a little Jim Reeves to pop on the spring. Change it anything you like So Solid Crew. You can get a little So Solid Crew, and that pops out, or whoever.
So anyway, it's in the house. She's thinking, "I'm not going to put that up. It's not her sort of thing." So thinks, give it to charity.
Of course.
She goes down to the charity shop, gives them that, thinks nothing of it, goes off to the pub for an afternoon drink. Anyway, next day she's going out for an afternoon drink again. Passes the charity shop. It's in the window.